Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskrittam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Dado Jayamudhirayat Nashta Prayeshu Vadreshu Nityam Bhāgavata-sevayā Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devakinandanaaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 8, continuing from verse number 64. Narada Uvacha Rajan Kim Dhyayase Dirgham Mukhena Pari Sushyata Kimvana Rishyate Kamo Dharmo Vartena Samyutaha. The great sage Narada inquired, "My dear king, your face appears to be withering up, and you look like you have been thinking of something for a very long time. Why is that? Have you been hampered in following your path of religious rites, economic development, and sense gratification?" Raja Uvacha Suto me balako brahman strai strainena akurana. Okay, one second, sorry. Suto me balako brahman strainena karunatmana निर्वासितः पंचवर्षः सह मात्रा महान kavihi. The king replied, "O best of the Brahmanas, I am very much addicted to my wife, and I am so fallen that I have abandoned all merciful behavior, even to my son, who is only 5 years old. I have banished him and his mother, even though he is a great soul and a great devotee. अप्यनातं वने ब्रह्मन् मा समा मा स्मादन्ति अर्भकं वृकाः श्रान्तं शयानं क्षुदितं परिम्लानमुखाम्बुजम्." My dear Brahmana, the face of my son was just like a lotus flower. I'm thinking of his precarious condition. He is unprotected and he might be very hungry. He might have lain down somewhere in the forest and the wolves might have attacked him to eat his body. अहो मे बतः दौरात्म्यं स्त्रीजितस्योपधारय योऽन्कं प्रेम्णारुरुक्षन्तं नाभ्यनन्दम् asattamah. Alas, just see how I am conquered by my wife. Just imagine my cruelty. Out of love and affection, the boy was trying to get up on my lap, but I did not receive him, nor did I even pat him for a moment. Just imagine how hard-hearted I am. Narada Uvacha Mama Suchasvatanayam Devaguptam Vishampate Tatprabhavam Avijnaya Pravrante Yad Yasho Jagat Ta Yasho Jagata. The great sage Narada replied, "My dear king, please do not be aggrieved about your son. He is well protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although you have no actual information of his influence, his reputation is already spread all over the world. Suduksharam karma kritva lokapaler api prabhu aishyasti achirato rajan yasho vipulayam stava." My dear king, your son is very competent. He will perform activities which would be impossible even for great kings and sages. Very soon he will complete his task and come back home. you should know that he will also spread your reputation all over the world. Maitrevacha iti devarshina proktam vishrutya jagati patihi rajam lakshmim anadritya putram evavachintayat. The great Maitreya continued. The king Uttanapada, after being advised by Narada Muni, practically gave up all duties in relation with his kingdom, which are very vast and wide, opulent like the goddess of fortune, and he simply began to think of his son Dhruva. तत्राभिषिक्तः प्रयतस् ताम् उपोष्य विभावरीं समाहितः पर्यचरद् ऋषि आदेशेन पूरुषम्. Elsewhere, Dhruva Maharaj, having arrived at Madhuvana, took his bath in the river Yamuna and observed fasting in the night with great care and attention. After that, as advised by the great sage Narada, he engaged himself in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. त्रिरात्रान्ते त्रिरात्रान्ते कपितः बदराशनः आत्मवृत्ति अनुसारेण मासं निन्ये अर्चयन् हरिम्. For the first month, Dhruva Maharaj ate only fruits and berries on every third day, only to keep his body and soul together, and in this way he progressed in his worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. द्वितीयं च ततः मासं षष्ठे षष्ठेऽर्भको दिने तृणपर्णादिभिः शीर्ष्णैः कृतान्नो व्यचरचयन् विभुम्. In the second month, Dhruva Maharaj ate only every 6 days, and for his eatables he took dry grass and leaves. Thus he continued his worship. तृतीयं चानयं मासं नवमे हनि अबक्ष उत्तमश्लोकम् उपाधावत् samadhina. In the third month he drank water only every 9 days. Thus he remained completely in trance and worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is adored by selected verses. चतुर्थम् अपि वै मासं द्वादशे हनि वायु भक्षोजितः श्वासो ध्यायन् देवम् अधारयत्. In the fourth month, Dhruva Maharaj became a complete master of the breathing exercise, and thus he inhaled air only every 12th day. In this way, he became completely fixed in his position and worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Panchame masyanuprapte jita swaso nrupatmajaha dhyayan brahma padaikena tastau sthanur ivachalah. By the fifth month, Maharaj Dhruva, the son of king, had controlled his breathing so perfectly that he was able to stand on only one leg, just as a column stands, without motion, and concentrate his mind fully on the Parabrahman. सर्वतो मनाकृष्य हृदि भूतेन्द्रियाशयं ध्यायन् भगवतो रूपं नाद्राक्षीत् किञ्चनापरम्. He completely controlled his senses and their objects, and in this way he fixed his mind without diversion to anything else upon the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. आधारं महत् आदीनं प्रधानं पुरुषेश्वरं ब्रह्मधारयमानस्य त्रयो लोकश्च When Dhruva Maharaj thus captured the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the refuge of the total material creation and who is the master of all living entities, the three worlds began to tremble. यदैकपादेन स पार्थिवार्भकस् तस्थौ तद् अनुगुष्टः निपीडितामहि नानाम तत्रार्धम् इबेन्द्र दिष्टिता तरीव सव्येतरयतः pade pade. As Dhruva Maharaj, the king's son, kept himself steadily standing on one leg, the pressure of his big toe pushed down half the earth, just as an elephant being carried on a boat rocks the boat left and right with his every step. तस्मिन् अभिद्यायति विश्वम् आत्मनो द्वारं निरुध्यासुम् अनन्यया धिया लोका निरुच्छ्वास निपीडिता भृशं सलोकपाला शरणं ययुर्हरिम्. When Dhruva Maharaj became practically one in heaviness with Lord Vishnu, the total consciousness, due to his fully concentrating and his closing all the holes of his body, the total universal breathing became choked up, and all the great demigods in all planetary systems felt suffocated and thus took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. देव उवाच नैवं विदामो भगवान् प्राणरोधं चराचरस्याखिलसत्त्वदाम्नः विदेहि तन्नो वृजिनाद् विमोक्षं प्राप्ता वयं त्वां शरणं शरण्यम्. The demigods said, Dear Lord, you are the refuge of all moving and non moving living entities. We feel all living entities to be suffocating, their breathing process choked up. We have never experienced such a thing. Since you are the ultimate shelter of all surrendered souls, we have therefore approached you. Kindly save us from this danger. श्रीभगवानुवाच मा वैष्टबालं तपसो दुरत्ययान् निवर्तयिष्ये प्रतियात स्वधाम यतो हि वः प्राणनिरोध आसीद् औतानपादिर्मयिं संगतात्मा. The Supreme Personality of Godhead replied, My dear devotees, my dear demigods, do not be perturbed by this. It is due to the severe austerity and full determination of the son of King Uttanapada, who is now fully absorbed in thought of me. He has obstructed the universal breathing process. You can safely return to your respective homes. I shall stop this boy in his severe acts of austerities, and you will be saved from this situation. Hare Krishna. Thus ends this chapter 8 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, entitled Dhruva Maharaj Leaves Home for the Forest. So, after reading a wonderful part of this, and also even coming to the end, we hear to the divine words of the Lord. Give me 1 second. I will open the notes. Okay. So, in this fourth canto, this chapter 8, I think we are going from the verse 64, right? If I'm not wrong. Control Z 60. Why don't I have it here? No, sorry. I was in the chapter 10. Okay, so now we are in the verse 64. So, Dhruva Maharaj entered Madhuvan to execute devotional service. We are talking about a boy who is just 5 years old who is entering the forest. It is not the Madhuvan that we may see now, where there's a small village that's around, everything is taken care. We're talking about that those days where the forest is full of wild animals. But this boy, fearlessly, out of determination, he went to this forest, and when he reached this Madhuvan place, he took the yeah, his bath in Yamuna and began to execute um, devotional service. And during this time, Narad Muni, he went and he met Uttanapada, king, and he's saying, Your face appears to be withering up, and you look like you have been thinking of something. Why is that? Have you been hampering in your path of religious principles that you are doing, or economic development that's what you expect and didn't happen, or in even sense gratification? Oh, maybe Kamaham. Here it says, Rishaye, you seem to be lost. Rishyate Kama Dharma Va Arthena Samyuta, along with. So it seems to be worried. And in the purport, Prabhupada is mentioning the four stages of advancement of human civilization are Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Yeah, Narada Muni didn't ask explicitly about moksha. Huh? In fact, he was just not, did not inquire from the king about his liberation, but only regarding the state management. Huh? Since those who engage in such activities are not interested in liberation, Narada did not inquire from the king about the moksha. And then the king started feeling very sad. In fact, in the purport, Prabhupada is saying the king said that since he was very much addicted to his wife, he had all lost all his mercy. That is a result of becoming too affectionate toward women. Prabhupada is mentioning. Uh, in this connection, I'm just referring. Yeah, give me a minute. So in this connection, Prabhupada is saying Uttanapada had two sons, two wives. First wife is Suniti and the second one Surichi. Uh, he was too much attached to the second wife, however, so he could not behave well with Dhruva. That was the cause of Dhruva's leaving home. Although as a father the king was affectionate toward his son, he minimized his affection for Dhruva Maharaj because he was too much addicted to his second wife. So sometimes what happens is that, yeah, in fact, Grihastha life is about not about wife or not about the husband. It's more about the offsprings because the duty of Grihasthas is to ensure that um, the the fruit of Grihastha life in the form of children are getting the opportunity to practice devotional service. For that matter, the husband or wife doesn't matter, they should be a responsible mother and father. And in this process, Uttanapada somehow he got carried away with attachment to his dear wife, and then because of that, he left the very important aspect of mercy towards his son. So in this purport we can see the king repented having banished his boy, for Dhruva was only 5 years old and a father should not banish his wife and children or neglect their maintenance. This is another aspect we can see here, that one who takes to the Grihastha ashram should not behave irresponsibly, that he can just leave home, yeah, or he can just let the wife or child leave home, yeah, because of not being properly taken care at home. So it's a serious responsibility. But in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, this was not applicable because Dhruva Maharaj was very mannerly and obedient. Moreover, he was a great devotee. Such a person is never to be neglected. Yet the king was obliged to banish him. Now he was very sorry. Huh. So that's what when the home is Vaikuntha, one need not leave the home, and when the home becomes hell, then one leaves to make his way towards Vaikuntha. That is the principle. So it's the responsibility of the parents to ensure that such environment is provided, and of course not with over pampering or with becoming too soft. Yeah, yeah, and it goes further. Alas, just see how I was conquered by my wife. Uh, just imagine my cruelty. Out of love and affection, the boy was trying to get up on my lap, but I did not receive him. So he felt, and in fact, he said he is very heartened because of that. And Narada Muni just said, "Huh, don't worry about him. Yeah, I know that your son is under the protection of the Supreme Lord. Although you have no actual information, his reputation is already spread all over the world." So in the purport, Prabhupada gives very important element of Sharanagati. He's saying sometimes when we hear that great sages and devotees go to the forest and engage themselves in devotional service or meditation, we become surprised. How can one live in forest and not be taken care of by anyone? The answer given here is very sound. Given by the great authority Narada is that Such persons are well protected by the Supreme Lord. Sharanagati or surrender means acceptance or firm belief that wherever the surrendered soul lives, he is always protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is never alone or unprotected. Dhruva Maharaj's affectionate father thought his young boy, only 5 years old, to be in very dangerous situation. But Narada Muni said, you do not have sufficient information about the influence of your son, and then we can later hear what he did. So, my dear son, your son is very competent, and in the purport, Prabhupada is, if we want to know what is the meaning of Prabhupada. hmm, you may make a note of this verse 69 in the purport Prabhupada is mentioning. Here in this verse, Narada Muni has described Dhruva Maharaj as Prabhu. This word is applicable to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes the spiritual master is addressed as Prabhupada. Prabhu means the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pada means post. According to Vaishnava philosophy, the spiritual master occupies the post of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or in other words, he is bona fide representative of the Supreme Lord. Dhruva Maharaj is also described here as Prabhu because he is an Acharya of the Vaishnava school. Another meaning of Prabhu is master of the senses, just like the word Swami. Another significant word is Sudushkaram, weapon. Very difficult to perform. What was the task that Dhruva Maharaj undertook? The most difficult task in life is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Dhruva Maharaj would be able to do that. We must remember that Dhruva Maharaj was not fickle. He was determined to execute his service and then come home or come back. Every devotee, and purport concludes, every devotee therefore should be determined that in this life he will be able to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead and by that process go back home, back to Godhead. This is the perfection of the highest mission of life. And after that, Maitreya is saying what happened while this Narada Muni was telling Dhruva Maharaj was engaged in a very serious business. What is that? Tapasya. Dhruva Maharaj, he took his bath in the river Yamuna and observed fasting in the night with great care and attention. After that, as advised by great sage Narada, he engaged himself in worshipping the Supreme Lord. In the purport, Prabhupada mentions Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also advises that if we want to be successful in our attempt to go back to Godhead, we must very seriously act according to the instruction of the spiritual master. This is the way of perfection. There need be no anxiety over attaining perfection because if one follows the instruction given by the spiritual master, he is sure to attain perfection. A spiritual master is expert in giving special instruction to each of his disciples, and if the disciple executes the order of the spiritual master, that is the way of his perfection. In fact, here the stress is given where that Dhruva Maharaj, though he was very determined, the quality of determination itself doesn't uh, bring us success. Osama bin Laden is very much determined to establish what he was thinking, but he needed a right guru. Yeah, so in every one of our life, we need a shelter. We need a person who can help us to come out of our narrow mindedness, to come out of our conditioning, and show us the way and help us. It's not just showing, he also blesses us that we can advance. So that's why it said in the purport a spiritual master is expert in giving special instructions to each of his disciples. And if the disciple executes the order, so first thing is the guru is giving the order, and second thing is the disciple is executing the order. That is the way of his perfection. This is in 71 verse. And then what did Dhruva Maharaj did? For the first month, ate only fruits and berries on every third day, and only to keep his body and soul together. And in this way, he progressed his worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes. We may not come to that level, we may not be able to imitate, but at least we can follow the spirit, that when we absorb as much as possible onto the Supreme Lord, then our interest to eat or to maintain the body will come to that bare minimum. Kapitta is a flower which is known in Indian vernacular as kayeta. We do not find an English equivalent for the name of this flower, and Prabhupada writes, Dhruva Maharaj, however, accepted such fruits not for luxurious feasting, but just to keep his body and soul together. The body needs only food, body needs food, but a devotee should not accept foodstuffs to satisfy the tongue in sense gratification. We should always remember that to become a bona fide devotee of the Lord is not an easy task. But in this age, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it has been made very easy. Just if we sit, close our eyes, and see how easily we can practice bhakti, we can see, oh, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. We didn't know all these nice ways how we can absorb and attain perfection. For us, we were thinking, okay, it's a very foreign subject for me. I am good at math, I am good at science, I am good at politics, I am good at media, social, geopolitical or geographical, historical, so many things. But when it comes to devotion, oh, what is that? I think a devotion may be something that we take darshan of the Lord, go to the temple, ask the priest to do a puja on our behalf. So whatever the meditation or whatever the prayers or everything should be done by the pujari. After that, we get back what? A piece of coconut, and then we come home, and that's it. Now here we see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made it so possible that one can just hear Bhagavatam, one can hear to Bhagavad Gita, one can just absorb themselves in chanting. By that process, one can attain perfection. But if we do not follow even the liberal instructions of Lord Chaitanya, and this is purport, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how can we expect to discharge our regular duties in devotional service? It is not possible in the age to follow Dhruva Maharaj in his austerity, but the principles must be followed. We should not disregard the regulative principles given by our spiritual master, for they make it easier for conditioned soul. As far as our ISKCON movement is concerned, we simply ask that one observe four prohibitive rules. What are that? And then chanting 16 rounds, and instead of indulging in luxurious eating for the tongue, simply accept prasad offered to the Lord. Uh, this purport goes little further, but by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, we have been given all concessions possible for this age. So at least we should always remember that neglect of our prescribed duties in devotional service will not make us successful in the mission we have undertaken. It is our duty to follow in the footsteps of Dhruva Maharaj, for he was very determined. We should also be determined to finish our duties in executing devotional service in this life. We should not wait for another life to finish our job. Uh, that is the summary. In the second month, yeah, and there is further description explained, and then when Dhruva Maharaj thus captured the Lord, who is the refuge of the total material creation, who is the master of all living entities, the entire world began to tremble. There is further some technical details mentioned in this verse number 78, but it is mentioning about what is the siddhis when one perform the yoga. In conclusion, a person who always concentrates on the transcendental form of the Lord within his heart can very easily strike the whole world with wonder at his activities. This is the perfection of yoga performance. Yoginam api sarvesham. Ordinary yogis can exhibit wonderful material activities known as Ashtasiddhi, eight kinds of yogic perfection. But a pure devotee of the Lord can surpass these perfections by performing activities which can make the whole universe tremble. In fact, um, was it? I don't know exactly who asked, but when they were seeing in an ocean, on the bank of the ocean, they were I think it was Kadam Kanan Maharaj was mentioning an incident in where for the Kumbh Mela when there were so many yogis, experts who came at the time when Prabhupada was there. Someone said, "Oh, this particular person, he's completely inside the sand and only to the neck level, or the other way, something." And Prabhupada said, "Yeah, yeah, there are so many great yogis who can have these Ashta Siddhis, yeah, huh? But these are only material activities, exhibit wonderful material activities. So these all also still come within the material realm. Whereas a pure devotee of the Lord can surpass these perfections by performing activities which can make the whole universe tremble." And as Dhruva Maharaj, when he was there, he was standing on one leg, and then he became so heavy just when he was balancing himself with the push of the toe, yeah, because of the weight that he was balancing, uh, then whole uh, um, earth, yeah, was pressured for his big toe pushed down half the earth. And how could Dhruva perform such wonderful activities as pressing down the whole earth? Huh? She must have been very surprised when she learned that Dhruva Maharaj, by concentrating constantly on the Supreme Lord within his heart, could press down the entire earth like an elephant who presses down the boat on which it's loaded. Hmm. I need to give a little more context. Um, yeah, I'll read from here. Uh, Purport 79. One cannot argue. How is it that Dhruva Maharaj, who was prevented from getting up on the lap of his father, could press down the whole earth? This argument is not very appreciated by the learned, for it is an example of Nagna Matraka logic. By this logic, one would think that because his mother in her childhood was naked, she should remain naked even when she is grown up. Hmm. That logic, no, it doesn't fit. Nagna, I mean naked, Matrika mother. The stepmother of Dhruva Maharaj might have been thinking in a similar way, since she had refused to allow him to get up on the lap of his father. But we know that how could Dhruva Maharaj perform such wonderful act? Because by concentrating constantly on the Supreme Lord within his heart, he could press down the entire earth like an elephant who presses down the boat on which it is loaded. Hmm? And when Dhruva Maharaj became practically one in heaviness with Lord Vishnu, then what happened? The total consciousness, due to his fully concentrating uh, and his closing all the holes of his body, the total universal breathing became choked. There is a description about this, how it happens. And all the great demigods in all the planetary systems felt suffocated and thus took shelter of the Supreme Lord. Let me straight away go to that. Yes. When he closed the holes of his unit body to firmly concentrate his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the units of the universe, namely all living entities, including the big demigods, felt the pressure of suffocation as if their breathing were being choked. Therefore, they all took shelter of the Lord. But how is this? This example of Dhruva Maharaj closing the holes of his personal body and thereby closing the breathing holes of the total universe clearly indicates that a devotee, by his personal devotional service, can influence all the people of the universe to become devotees of the Lord. If there is only one pure devotee in pure Krishna consciousness, he can change the total consciousness of the world. This is not very difficult to understand if we study the behavior of Dhruva Maharaj. And when Devas all they went and they praised the Lord and they said, "Oh, please, please protect us." Then the Lord replied, "Okay, my dear demigods, do not be perturbed by this. It is due to the severe austerity and full determination of the son of Uttanapada. I shall stop this boy in his severe acts of austerities, and you will be saved from this situation." Hmm. Saying so, the Lord helped the devatas to breathe. Mm. And tomorrow we are going to cover Dhruva Maharaj returns home, but before he returns home, what he attains is unimaginable, even to the level of Dhruva Maharaj. He didn't even imagine, and that's the greatness of the Lord. We can't imagine how the Lord will bless us. We are just begging or asking or pleading and expecting or whatever we call only for petty things. But the Lord can give what we really deserve and of course what we really need. Yeah, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any thoughts or comments or something someone want to share? No? Then I wish you a nice evening. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. पञ्चाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।